Chase, it's good to have you here. Today we have a phenomenal guest with us. I'm here instead of Zach and Kimberly Odie. Now, if you've ever thought about investing and you think stocks, you think bonds, you better be thinking real estate. Now, Gina Lemelin is here for a second round, Gina. So welcome back.
Thank you.
Last week, Gina gave us some really phenomenal tips on how to finance a fix and flip. And today, before you go and finance a fix and flip with all the good stuff she gave you, well, you better assess whether or not that fix and flip you're looking at is a good investment. So today, Gina's here to give us her answer to this question. How do you determine if a fix and flip is a good investment? Well, Gina's got a ton of years of experience in the industry, 25 plus. And out of these 25 plus years, she's created and assisted over 100 investors create success out of a fix and flip. So she's not coming to you with theory. She's not coming to you with, a hypothesis. She's coming to you with live real world experience about how to assess the value of a fix and flip and determine for yourself whether or not it is a good investment. It's my honor, Gina, to have you on with us again. I know nothing about fixing and flipping, and maybe you know it all and would love to hear.
I do not know it all. It's impossible, but I can share what I do know and the experience I have. So I thank you for that warm introduction. Thank you very much for that. What are the I'm going to ask you a question, put you on the spot. What are the three words of real estate?
Location, location, location. You know what? In a lifetime, I think I was in high school. I did go and study and got myself a real estate license because my dad wanted to sell somebody a house and I wanted to get the commission.
Hey, that's a noble cause.
Yeah, location, location, location.
So that is the same with a fix and flip. But to find a location, and to maximize the profit is a little bit of a different strategy. You can occasionally find a good flip in a already established market, but really the key to being successful in the flipping is being able to identify the location that's up and coming with some equity potential. Also, where there are homes that you can buy and have that profit margin. Because when you get into the
when you say location, get a location that's up and coming. I know you and I were speaking earlier, and I said you're driving by and you're going, yeah, that one. But would you have a couple of principles or rules of thumb that actually give you a sense of which location is actually location in that sense?
Well, these are rules of thumbs. They're not the rule. There's exceptions to every rule, but there are a couple of things that you can do in your research to find some decent locations. And that is one, we talked about last week, building your team, making sure that you have investors on your team that you know that you can always ask, one, but two, every county has a place where you can go and pull who's pulling permits. And if you watch as to who's pulling permits in the area, like for example, I'm in Sugar Hill, Georgia today. Yeah. And if I went out, I live here, so I know what it's doing. But if I were going to go out of this, and let's say I was looking at Decula, which is not that far, but in the same county, I might go and look and see what permits are being pulled there to establish what type of return is coming. Now, this is just in my prelim research, but you can also look and see what other development you could just ride through. What other development is establishing right now? Are there new restaurants coming in? Are there new, for example, in Covington, Georgia? All right. That's been a small little town, but there's a lot of development coming in there that shows you that they are preparing for growth. You can
Mm,
see the types of restaurants that are coming in. Parks and recs are another one. If the city is my experience with the city focusing on parks and recs is going to be family oriented. They're going to be driving a lot of families into that. The school systems, you can't always tell just by the school systems. That's something that people move into for a lot. So if you happen to find a home in a really top-notch school system, that's great. That's always a good thing to fix and flip. But if you're starting out and you're just not sure, you want to start small. When you do your research, I'll show you what I did when I started learning about fix and flips and then how I built my team and got into it. Did you by chance give me the ability to share my screen?
yes, you do.
Okay.
And as you're doing that, if I hear you correctly, determining the location has a lot to do with, is this area about to grow or is
Yes.
it growing?
Mhm.
Meaning, is it going to be attracting a lot of residents for the right reasons? And if so, that gives me a sense that the property I'm fixing to flip, I can flip rather quickly.
Correct, right. Because you don't want to hold that property long, or you may like that property, and we see this a lot. You may go in to flip it and then decide to hold it as a rental because it just worked out that way for the numbers. So
Mhm.
you really you don't know what the absolute end result's going to be always. And so I know everyone says never make a plan B. I'm a plan B in a plan A world. So I think if you have always, okay, if this happens, I'm going to go this direction, or if this happens, I'm going to go this direction in your head before you start, you can maximize your profit.
Yeah.
Sometimes not anticipating that things could go wrong or that you're going to have to hold the property is the very reason why you may lose on a flip. But if you go in it expecting that, you're going to win, if that makes sense. So, it's flipping is a short range issue, like strategy, but it's good to think long range when you're learning about it and mapping it out, especially for first time flippers. Now, once you get experience, that's the strategy is a little bit different. But
So this is actually one of the properties you helped flip.
you know what? I helped a client look at this, and the numbers were so great. And I was here. They went a different direction, and I thought it was perfect to talk about this one.
Yeah.
But initially, how I found this property to run numbers on, and I teach on this property quite a bit in the real estate world, but I just I was just on Zillow, and that's what you can do as well. And I was just looking through Zillow in a certain area that was by my house because I wanted to go visit the properties, and I don't have a lot of time, so I was really staying local. With this particular property, I knew right away it was a pretty good fix and flip because if you when you look, these were the only pictures online, and you could see the roof, you could see that the doors weren't there, you could see siding was missing, and you could also see that the agent had included the floor plans.
Mm-hmm.
So on the floor plans, this would be like a bigger fix and flip. So I had a client, an agent that was interested in this. She had a client that was looking at fix and flips. So called her and said, hey, let's go look at this one. It's in a good area in Buford. And I think this is one that your client should look at. So we walked out there, and sure enough, I mean, everything in it was gutted. So in order to do this house, now this property is not a newer property. This is just one I've taught on for a while, but the math is always the same. And that's what I wanted to introduce you to. These are just
Mm.
small concepts today, but it's some math that you can put around something that you're looking at and know kind of what you're looking, if it's a good deal even to look at. So you
Yeah.
have to know the basic math when thinking about properties to flip. So this one, it's on Zillow, you'll always see the square footage, 2,132 square feet. And if you scroll down, and I don't think I have it in this listing, but on Zillow, it'll actually say per square feet if you scroll down in the bottom. But you can
Mm-hmm.
also do the math to figure, you want to figure out what the sales price per square foot is. And do you know how to do that?
169,900 divided by 2132. So this property is actually selling for a little close, let's just say 80 bucks a square foot.
80 bucks a square foot. Very good. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And that is the basic math that it doesn't matter what property you're looking at, you're always going to take the square footage divided by the purchase price, because you're looking on any kind of renovation flip strategy, you're going to have to say, how much am I buying this for the square footage? Because your math to get the numbers is based primarily on square footage numbers. And that's how most flippers will walk through going, okay, this is a max flip, or this is a flip that just needs some cosmetic, and they already have those square footages amounts in their head.
So something comes to mind, and I may be jumping the gun, but I'm wondering if now I go find something that's sold recently and find out what the square footage, what the selling price per square foot was, and compare that, and that gives me a sense of how much I could invest, or whether I should invest or not.
Yes, that is the very next step. Yes, absolutely. So you have to be able to look at, so backing up, I'm showing you how to practice your math on Zillow, but let me make the point that you will most likely find your best deals with flips by networking, asking around, hey, you know anyone that's selling a home, watching the market, watching Zillow. You can find them on Zillow, don't get me wrong, but networking is amazing too, because if an agent knows that there's someone, a real estate agent knows that there's someone interested in buying a flip, and they get a listing that needs work, they would much rather sell it that way than have to put it on the market, because that opens it up for a lot more. So let me just make that point to you. I'm showing you today on Zillow, but networking, don't discount for finding flip properties.
Discount that.
However,
now,
that's exactly
in your
right.
experience, Gina, between Zillow and networking, do you find better deals networking, or is it kind of like even?
It can be even. If you watch Zillow and you're watching these listings and you're hitting them right out the gate and you're very aggressive with them and you know what you're looking for, you can get amazing deals with Zillow. However, a lot of times if it's networking and you can find it, sometimes you can get a better deal on that, because you may find a person that's just really aggressive wanting to get rid of their property. It needs a lot of work. That's what investors do. They're looking for that person that needs a quick sell, and you don't want to take advantage of that person, right? You want to be fair, but it may be the better opportunity for you. So both networking and looking at Zillow, but regardless, before you ever get started, and like I feel comfortable with you that you have a decent amount of knowledge where you could probably put your strategy together pretty quickly. However, for those who are just starting out, my encouragement is to do exactly what Sorrel just did. Take the square footage, divide it by the purchase price, find out how much that house is selling for per square footage, and then go and find a home that's improved, that's very similar to that property, and find out what it's being sold for. Now, in this case, the investor eventually, and I believe it's this one, completely tore it down and built new and made a really good investment that way, but they had a lot of capital and cash flow to do so. You could have easily gone in and flipped this property too, but you would have to know how to do the math. So let me give you the high end and low end ranges of the square footage dollar amounts. So I'm looking at my notes. I've had to adjust these for inflation. All right. So a low end renovation, and that means no structural work. And it depends on the type of property you're looking at. It can be anywhere from $20 a square foot to $60 a square foot. Now, how you would gauge that is if it's a high-end home, a very large home that you're looking at, you're probably on the higher end of that square footage. But if it's like a first-time home, and you walk in and it just it just needs updating. Maybe the cabinetry needs painting, some appliances, flooring, but nothing structural. You could safely gauge about $20-$25 a square foot and probably be somewhat close on what needed to be done on that. And I would want to point out too that a overpriced home is always an overpriced home. So if you're looking at that house and it needs work and it's overpriced, that's just not going to be the one if they will not work with you on coming down on the price. So need to make that point, because some people think that once they fix the house up, it's going to be worse.
Yeah.
But if it's overpriced from the beginning, it's just a lose.
It's overpriced,
So
period.
you must make sure that you get the discount on the front side, because when you're doing a renovation, especially such as this, you don't know what you're getting yourself into. There could be mold, there could be piping underground that you don't see that maybe needs to do. So I always encourage everyone, when you're doing a flip, at least 10 to 15% set aside for reserves in the event that there's something that comes up that you don't see.
So something's coming to mind, and I want to confirm it with you. So I determined that this is $80 a square foot. That's what I would pay to go in. And if homes in the neighborhood that are renovated and in good condition are selling for, say, would it be $160 a square foot?
Probably in this market, probably about 250.
Probably about 250, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 250 a square foot. So that means I look at 80 is what I put in. And then there's an additional 80 I put in probably to renovate and fix it. And then the difference between 160 and 250 is what I pocket. Is that the game you're looking to play there?
It is, but this one obviously wouldn't be cosmetic. So you would have to, this would be a higher end renovation. So you're probably talking 100, 150 a square foot to get this one done.
To get it done.
Yeah. And
above the 80 you pay.
Correct.
All right.
So, but that you would have to, you do have to go in and visit it. But what you want to do is get really familiar with the numbers. And before you start making offers, you want to target your location. So that's going to be important. If you happen to have someone that tells you about a potential flip and you're open to the area. For first-time flippers, you need to be aware that you have to have your connections. That's why I talked about the very first step is to build your team. You do need to kind of have a target area, because if you go into an area that you don't know, now you have contractors you don't know, maybe you don't have the experience yet. That can be something to add to. You can go into additional markets, but your very first flip and your trial and error stage, your learning stage, you want to maximize your profitability and measure twice and cut once, and make sure that you have everything in place. So that's why this one was close to me, because I was looking in my area. Even though I wasn't buying it, I was helping someone buy it. So that was really important to me, to make sure that I was helping them with that strategy.
So Gina, I have two questions. The first one is, if someone listening were interested in doing a fix and flip, could they contact you and say, hey, Gina, could you consult with me to assist me through this first one?
Oh, I'd be happy to. Sure.
And this is something you charge for?
No, not necessarily. It depends on the strategy. If they move forward and there's some work behind it, but no, as initial consult, no, that's not.
So then how you get compensated is that you end up doing the mortgage on the property.
That's correct.
So that makes sense. The other thing that's dawning on me is that maybe this is not something that anyone should get into unless they're looking to make it a full-time job.
Well, no, they can, they don't have to do it as a full-time job, but they need to put the work. It's like it's a job. It's not a full-time job. That's how I would say that.
Yeah.
So when you go to a job or you go for a job interview, and in this podcast today, if you were a speaker in the podcast, you're going to prepare.
Yeah.
That's something that you're going to do. You're not going to just show up and move forward. I would say treat it as a job. Do your research. Make sure that you have a strategy in place that you can employ. Understand the numbers. Again, if you're looking on the lower end, it's 20 to 60. If it needs structural, you're probably 100, 150. And that is if you're hiring a contractor.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about last week how I have one flipper who does do it a lot. And what they did is practice on their first home, but they target a specific type of home and they put the same things in that home every single time. So then they're not guessing on the range on the square footage. They have it actually down to a science. So that's for them. But let's say your grandmother, and we see this a lot, like a family member is selling a house. And what's great about that is the family member can give a gift of equity. So people don't think enough about that. They're like, I don't want to buy grandma's home, it has green carpet and it smells bad and it's never been improved the whole time she's lived there. But that can be a really good strategy to start with your first flip. So that when we talk about networking and opportunities, you may have one that falls in your lap. Or if you need some cash flow, let's say you want to buy homes to owner finance down the road as a retirement strategy. That's another strategy that's really powerful because you're not the landlord, you're the bank, and you're not having to do the improvements. So I'm a big fan of the owner financing. But let's say you want to do that. Well, you have to build some capital. You may try to find a home here and there to fix and flip to build your capital. But you just need to make sure that you're smart with it. Just like with stocks or bonds or anything else that you invest in, you're going to do your research and figure out, well, you're going to ask question, what's that long-term return? How can I do this? You don't want to go into this particular strategy just going, hey, I know someone that did this and they were super successful. Well, there was a lot of work under their success. So you don't have to do it as a full-time job. You could do one or two, but you still would need to put the work in behind it to make sure that you are, like I said, measuring twice.
The opportunity. Gina, do you have another slide to show?
I wanted to give you just a preview of last week, and I want to go back to that. I'm sorry, I lost my Zoom. Hold on one second. There you are. I just want to remind you guys this because this is the research, and if we get excited, we go look at the houses, and yes, that's it. But if you will do the work here before you ever start looking for a home, if you do this, you will absolutely have a much higher percentage, not a guarantee, but a kind of close guarantee to being successful with your strategy. So when you do your research, if you build your team with the right people, those people can help you network. They can help you with experience. They can watch out for you. They can go look at the house with you if you have the right people on your team. You want people who are willing to give you information. If they're always, you asked a good question, do I charge? If someone is legitimately in business and doing well for themselves, you'll typically find that they're givers of their knowledge and experience ahead of time. They're not going to charge for that.
Yeah.
So you have people like that in your network. You may have someone that works on houses for a living. Maybe it's a floor guy or an AC guy. All of the subcontractors are connected in that field. So you might just start networking with them. Hey, do you have someone that you work for that does these homes a lot? I've got one investor that has a client that does very high-end renovations. So that's a whole nother strategy to someone who's buying that first-time home to flip. So I have in my notes, this is my person, and this is where I'll go to for information from them. But I have a wide network of teams. I've spent years sitting down with coffee with people and just getting to know them. And I'm happy to connect. Most of my connections are in Georgia. And then master the numbers, meaning what are those? How do I do that square footage? How do I see what it's going to be worth? How can I just,
You do that math to
you do the
determine whether
math
or not it's a good investment.
and then know what's out there for financing if you finance. Now, cash is king. It's always capital. If you can get your hands on cash, 1,000%, that's the best way to go. The fix and flip money is good, but you're talking 12, maybe 14% rates on that. And as long as the value of the home is there, it's short-term money. You're not paying that forever.
So in
So
terms of mastering your numbers, do you have a spreadsheet that actually does all this calculation where you insert the interest rate, you insert what you're going to pay the contractors, and then boom.
I do. Yeah, I do. I can, I didn't bring that for today. I wasn't expecting that. If I send it to you, can you send it out?
Yeah, I could send it out selectively to people who want it. I think that would be awesome. The other thing I'm thinking is that that kind of spreadsheet is something that probably helps people with thinking through any kind of investment or
Right.
financial commitment. Yeah,
Right, exactly.
absolutely.
Just being able
Absolutely.
to, so that's the whole point I'm trying to make is you're gonna practice before you even uh put a contract on that first house. You're gonna run
Practice.
some numbers, go look at houses, pretend like you are, and then that's how you're gonna get familiar with the strategy. It's a hands-on learning experience. Real estate is very much, and I guess that's why I love it so much. I'm a very kinetic, I'm a get my hands around it, learn kind of person. I laugh and tell people I teach, but my learning style is failing. I usually go in all at once and fail it and then have to go back and do it the second time. And because of that, I think that's helped me in the renovation space teach how not to do it because I did it so wrong and
Because
led
you've
people
done
to
it
do
so
it
long.
wrong a lot in my early years because I thought, oh, you just go out there, you find a really good deal, and then you figure it out from there. Well, no, you
Practice
practice and
first.
learn, and then you do it, and you're much more successful.
Yeah. Gina, thank you so much for bringing that to the party. One of the things that Giovanni and I are dead set on is that, and so are Kim and Kimberly and Zach, make more money, right?
Right.
If you want your life to work, make more money. And fixing and flipping is yet another opportunity that you've helped us identify how people can increase their income.
Yes.
Uh,
And some
and
people are
if I hear
naturally
you
gifted.
correctly, uh, don't just dive into it though.
Right.
Dive with this in mind, your final tips and takeaways.
Mhm.
Yeah. So Gina, if you had one last sentence or two you wanted to say in the world of determining if a fix and flip is a good investment, what do you want to say to the world?
Ooh, um, if first and foremost, this is a needed strategy because future home buyers coming into this market are losing the opportunity to buy a home. So there is very much a need. If you are a visionary and you are good at seeing things and you can grasp this and you feel like you can do it. And then put some product out there in mind for first-time home buyers to be able to get into a home. Build your profitability in there, but also keep in mind that we we need we need the visionaries to take these properties, fix them, and flip them and put them back out there because there are a lot of people in the home buyer arena who don't have the vision to see this. So I want you to do this as an investment strategy, but also if you're strong with this and it comes naturally to you and you have a lot of interest in it, I'm going to encourage you to really move forward with it because it's very much needed in this space.
And what you just said, Gina, connects very tightly to your commitment to help people take a piece of the American dream for themselves.
Right.
So why not flip a home and flip it not only to make profit, but with an intention to make a difference for another? The first home buyer who may not have the vision to see what you see, and your work actually paves the way and create the space for them to have.
Right. And that is future generational income for them if done properly. So it's an investment, but it's a piece of something that's bigger than you.
Yeah. Thank you, Gina. Thank you. Well,
Thank you.
definitely would love to have you back. There's the spreadsheet that you and I just talked about. I'm wondering, and I'm seeing numbers now, right? We could go line by line. This line means this, and here's where you go with that.
Yeah, that would be good. And then I could put the link in the chat and have it all prepared for you.
Yeah, we'd love to have you back.
Okay, I'll be back.
Yeah. Folks, this is our Daily Huddle for today. You can find the Daily Huddle on YouTube. Just go to YouTube and Google and search the Daily Huddle. We've got this THD that builds like a tower and a flame on top. When you see that, that's us. Go ahead and subscribe. The Daily Huddle is on every weekday, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. every day. It's a good habit to have. We close today with our 8 tenets. The first one is love. If you've got someone you love, maybe you can buy a fix and flip property and give them a gift. Laugh out loud. Don't let life be so serious. It's not really that serious. If it's not funny today, I guarantee you it's going to be funny next week. So make it funny now. Laugh, go crazy, and eat mostly plant-based. Take great care of your body. Get some exercise, get some sleep. And if you've got a ton of stuff cluttering your space, it clutters your brain too. So declutter, give away not just the stuff you don't want, but give something that will make a difference for somebody else. Sleep, move your body, and last but not least, folks, check your assumptions. Your assumptions matter, and they give you the way you live today. So check them before you wreck your life. This is our Daily Huddle for today. Catherine and Tara are going to be on first thing tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. So join them right here on the Daily Huddle. I'll see you then.
Thank you, Terrell. Have a great day now.
Thank you, CC.